Hey guys, welcome back to Tech Savvy Life, where I help you become more tech savvy. Today I'll be explaining what a hard drive is and the different types of hard drives and whether you need to upgrade and how each different type works. If you haven't watched my video about motherboards, I highly recommend you go watch that because I'll be referencing an analogy I used in that video. A hard drive, in this theoretical company, a hard drive would be the department where, like a big storage facility, where all the company's information is stored. Information about clients, information about employees, information about sales, everything is stored in that facility. So for a computer, all the data, all the user's data, all the data about the actual software, all the data about what the user has done in the past few days, and all the data about errors that have occurred will be stored on the hard drive. There are different types of hard drives available, and I'll be explaining those today. The first type would be a hard disk drive. These kind of work with a spinning disk. Wait, let me show you. I would highly suggest against doing this at home. It will damage your hard drive. Alright, now we can open it. And here we can see there are different parts in there. There's a disk and there's that little arm. That arm actually works as like a reader and a writer for the disk. So this works very much on the same principles as a normal like CD or DVD, except this one is much smaller and it spins much faster, and it has a much larger storage capacity, and I'm pretty sure these are double-sided. Basically what happens with this is this little arm magnetizes data onto this disk. Let me show you how that works. Here I have a standard screwdriver. It's just metal, it's not magnetized or anything, and I can't actually pick these screws up with it. But here I have a magnetizer, and if I put it in, take it out again, my screwdriver is now magnetized, so I can pick up all these little screws with my newly magnetized screwdriver. So basically this works on the same concept. This has little magnets in it, and it basically magnetizes the drive, and for a 0 it'd be not, a small bit would be not magnetized, for a 1 a tiny bit would be magnetized. Now that's an oversimplified way of explaining it, but that's the way I could think of kind of making it simple, because all data on computers is stored as 0s and 1s. So that's how this one works in its most simple form, and these generally have very high storage capacities, and they used to be the most common drive. I'll get to why they're not the most common drives anymore though. Right, now you might have noticed this red cable on my desk. This is called a SATA cable. Generally hard drives connect to the motherboard via a SATA cable. So one end goes into the hard drive. This is the motherboard from my previous video. The other end of this cable just goes into one of these SATA connectors on the motherboard, and that way the hard drive and all the other components can communicate, and whenever you open a file it'll retrieve the information from that little disk, and it'll go through that cable and onto the motherboard wherever it needs to go, wherever you want it to go. Now the next type of hard drive is called a solid state drive. Commonly it's referred to as an SSD. They are much smaller, much more expensive, but they are much faster than hard drives, which is the main reason in today's age most computers use SSDs. Hard drives are very slow. SSDs are the reason that computers can now turn on in an instant instead of having that little loading screen for 2 to 10 minutes. SSDs generally don't have as high maximum storage capacities as hard disk drives, but they're much more versatile and they come in different sizes. So obviously the smaller ones would have a smaller maximum capacity, but they still can get pretty big. This is a 512 gigabyte SSD. I'm pretty sure this one is as well, and they fit onto most modern motherboards. But instead of attaching with a cable like a hard drive, like a hard disk drive, there are ports on the motherboard for you to put them in and take them out. So there's a little screw there that you can take out, and you can put the hard drive in, and that's it. They take up a lot less space in the computer, and generally these are used to store Windows or games, any files that you need to access very quickly. A lot of computers still have hard drives as backup drives or to store photos or something because they are very cheap and they come in very large sizes. Now a question might come to mind: should I upgrade my hard drive? Should I change from a HDD to an SSD? Generally the answer depends on your individual use case. If your computer is very slow at starting up and loading files, loading games, if you want your games to load faster and you're still using a HDD, I would definitely recommend changing to an SSD. You can get these for around $100 to $200 from Umart or even from Amazon or your local computer store, and they're a pretty easy replacement. I will be making a replacement video further on, but yeah, highly recommended. If you're still using a HDD as your main storage device, change to an SSD. Most phones and tablets come with SSDs. And whether you should upgrade size, it doesn't really matter. Generally what people have in a laptop, they only have one drive because you don't need to store that much, but on a PC you could have like a 512 SSD as your main drive, and then for photos and videos, huge files that you don't really access that often, you can have one of these because they're slow but very cheap, and they're still compatible with most motherboards these days. Thanks for watching, guys. If you want to understand how motherboards work, please don't hesitate to go watch my video on motherboards. Please don't hesitate to hit that red button and stay tuned for the next one.